So Eben Etzebeth, 128 tests, incredible achievement, incredible match. Even my little glasses are fogging up here with all the emotion. 16 seconds he makes his first tackle. He takes a line-out ball, he makes a pass, and he makes a break. All within 120 seconds. 7 minutes. The Boks are 10 meters from that Pumas line. 5 scrum penalties. On that fifth one, on the advantage, Fussy scores a wonderful try. But my mate here wasn't very impressed with the Boks.
What?
Hey? Got to put the brakes on this Bok euphoria. He stunned me this morning when I walked in and shocked me. I came cartwheeling in here to talk about a 48-7 win, rugby champions.
Glorious.
And my mate Zels met me with we got to put the brakes on this Bok euphoria. Who did they really beat? It was a nice game.
It was a nice game.
What is going to impress you about the
I am
Boks?
exceptionally impressed with the Springboks. They won the Rugby Championship. Eben, we've seen guys like Percy's 100th test, right? Didn't end very well. 19-0 against the All Blacks in Cape Town. Not ideal. And so we've seen that with a couple of guys in those milestone achievements. It doesn't go the right way. It doesn't go the way you want it to. For Eben to achieve what he's achieved with that performance and to win the Rugby Championship, what a massive, massive spectacle and a great way for the Oak to kind of notch it up. 48-7 against Argentina, a week after you've lost against them, banking the first full Rugby Championship title in South African rugby history. All good stuff. Fantastic stuff. We scored some great tries, and you couldn't have asked the guys to bounce back more emphatically from last week's performance, and you could argue that having rested the main Oaks for this game worked.
All right, but we banter all the time. That's not what you said to me before we started the show.
I said it was a terrible performance.
You said we got to put the brakes on this Bok euphoria and we got to put the brakes on the rah-rah about certain players. Now, matey, you stunned me. You shocked me.
I haven't stunned you.
I thought you were going to be so euphoric. I thought for the first time you were going to say...
No.
You were going to say to me, Tony Ball, when played with structure, when played with forward dominance...
Please. What we did play is forward dominance. And for me, that's the shock out of this game, is Oxen Chair, Frans Malherbe. If they don't get credit for this result, then I don't even know why anyone would play prop. Because, like I said to you, if the Boks can scrum like this and get these results at scrum, they can play anywhere. They can put Lionel Messi at 10 and they'll beat anybody in the world. The scrum dominance against Argentina was off the charts. It laid the foundation for that entire performance. And I think Oxen Chair and Frans Malherbe deserve massive, massive credit for what followed their performance at the set piece.
All right, before the test match, on our last show, we said that the Boks were going to absolutely pound the Pumas.
You said it even more than I did.
30 points plus. The comments were that we were deluded, we were fools.
Arrogant,
assholes, everything.
I like it.
I couldn't find anyone on social media. I waited for about 2 hours after the game with a little hello. Any comments here? There were no comments. I do think at times people underestimate just how well you know the game and how well I know the game and how well we know the Boks. And as I said in that piece on the Keo blog, it wasn't arrogance. It was absolute confidence in the 23 that Rassie had picked, absolute confidence in the mentality that they were going to take into this game. And when we spoke last week as well, we said that Manie Lebok's missed kick in Santiago could be a blessing in disguise because it forced this Bok team to go out there, the best available 23, and put on, for me, their most complete performance of the season in terms of the balance that there was to their game. So we've spoken at length, ad nauseum, about the Tony Ball effect. What are we trying to do with our backs? And our biggest critique at times has been that we've gone away from doing the basics up front and doing them well and actually saying, we're going to murder you in the scrum, we're going to clean you out in the line out, and we're going to dominate you in the collisions. And against a fired-up Argentinian team, that's exactly what they did. That first 7-minute dominance, I don't think I've ever seen that from this Springbok side, as good as they've been, or from anyone against a side as good as Argentina. They're a quality outfit. They just couldn't get away from, in that opening 7 minutes, the first time that the Boks received the ball in their own half was on the 8th minute was the kickoff after they had scored.
Yeah.
So that's what pleased me the most was there was this absolute focus. It was a world champion statement performance.
Big time.
And give credit to the Argentinians because at 14-0, when they did get a little bit of ball, they looked very good. Scored a very comfortable try against us. But the experience of this side, they came back, took 3 vital points, 17-7, and then it became a bit of a scrap again. Even though we were always in control of the game, lesser Argentinian sides would have taken 80. Some of those predecessors, and they fought really hard. Yes, we scored the points when they were down to 14-13.
Yeah.
But they were down to 14-13 because they were infringing so much because of the pressure that was on them.
That's true.
So all round, I just think it was a brilliant Bok performance under the circumstances in front of 42,000 wonderful Bok supporters and just a fantastic celebration of who is now our greatest Bok in terms statistically. Most capped, 128 Eben, and he will certainly go down as one of the great Boks, one of the great players of his era and in the game.
And a great little tribute from Sia in the post-match to Eben, just beautiful. The way that whole thing played out was a Hollywood script. So just really happy for Eben, happy for the Boks, happy for South African rugby to, like we said last week, if we had won this thing in Nelspruit and had to kind of celebrate it here, you joked about maybe losing with the bonus point. To win it like that wouldn't have been the same. The way it went out here, Eben's name in flames, 48-7. It's a great way to sign off until the end of your tour.
It really was a cool occasion. It's one of those games that, nice it is to be able to finish your column 15 minutes before the end whistle and send it to the Sunday Times and not on full-time whistle, not knowing who's going to win. But to sit back and actually just watch this celebration of everything that we talk about Bok rugby. Dominant up front, dominant in the collisions, clever in their line-out variations, and just composed and in control. Superbly led by Sia Khaleesi and then by the other leaders. Eben took over the captaincy. He went through 83 minutes. There was no way you're going to get him off that on Saturday. He was going to be there right till the end. That's what pleased me the most was we saw that kind of performance. And again, we did it against a team that was confident, that had just come off a win against the Springboks for the first time ever, had beaten the Wallabies and scored 38 points in Wellington against the All Blacks. So this wasn't a side ranked 12th in the world. This wasn't a second-tier nation. This was a team that many people felt could come here and actually win.
This is their best rugby championship in Argentina rugby history. So
when I look at a lot of, and it's an emotional reaction in this country to people when the Boks play, it's like, Marnie silences his critics. Marnie silenced no one because Marnie didn't kick for poles.
Correct.
Marnie is a great footballer. We've always said that.
Great footballer.
If you're going to play him, create an environment that gets the best out of him, and that's what Rassie and Tony Brown did. They picked him and they gave the goal kick into Jaden Hendricks, who kicked at 60%, which is Marnie's kicking percentages. The point there is that it didn't affect Jaden Hendricks' game. When Marnie's kicking at 60, it affects his whole game. And they took that responsibility away from him.
Totally.
And he flourished. So kudos to Rassie for picking him. And kudos to Marnie for actually just
thriving in that environment. The quality of those passes, his distribution, just insane.
Being the conductor.
Totally.
Behind that dominant pack.
Totally.
And then finding a way to accommodate playing him. And then when the sharpshooter came on at the end, 3 from 3, Andre Pollard up by the 85% mark. The combination just worked perfectly. So to me, there was no silencing of any critique.
Agreed.
If Marnie Lebok had kicked 5 pressure penalties at the end, he silences critique. Everyone had said this kid can play. He's always played.
Spot on.
It's what Dobbo did with him at the Stormers, create that environment for him to run the show. And they picked the right back line for the occasion. And you go back to the props not getting their due. SA Rugby Magazine ran a poll, who's your MVP, 1 to 23. Frans Malherbe, Oxenchair hardly featured, but the guy who never features is Damien Dealandi. He gives us so much go forward at 12.
Big time.
He gives us so much structure and control and dominance. He invariably makes a yard, 2 yards in the contact. He straightens the line. And I think he knocked on one ball where I don't think he thought he wasn't coming to him.
Trying to force an offload.
Yeah, try to force an offload. But When are we going to recognize how good this guy is?
No, mate, we were talking about it in the office earlier. I mean, it's you're a good Springbok 12 when you are sort of public enemy number one, because it happened to Peter Miller. It's too boring, he doesn't do this. It happened to DeVet Barry. It happened to Jean at times when he was the golden boy and first came on the scene. Everybody loved him. They're like, why isn't he passing more? And now it's Dukes. I think it's part of that 12 jersey. It comes with the job. People don't really understand / respect the importance of having a guy that goes forward at inside centre, and it's just par for the course. So Dukes is, I think that he gets enough respect from the people in the know, and I think he's fabulous, the world's best 12.
No, look, his teammates will probably nearly every match make him an MVP. So, and the opposition regard him as one of the best.
Yeah.
The point for me is he is just an exceptional rugby player, and to have someone with the quality of Lucanio Ama can come on and play as well as he did, we are very blessed with those two players.
Very blessed.
And then Jesse Creel, who's just for the last 2 years has played the best rugby of his career.
So confident.
Confidence, mature.
We spoke about the props. We spoke about how Ox and France deserve credit for the momentum and the platform they created. And the Boks deserve credit for using that opportunity to feed the wingers, specifically Ches. And for me, Ches and Colby was just absolutely outrageous this weekend. Not just for what he did with the ball, but off the ball. Big wide breakdown, clean out right early on. That finish that I don't know how you finished that try at his dimensions. Just superb. It was absolutely brilliant.
So when people talk Antoine Dupont, Ches and Colby is, to me, Colby more than Dupont.
Definitely.
And he's got a gold medal around from the World Cup, 2 of them, that he can hand on his shoulders to say that.
How many?
2.
Sure.
And Dupont hasn't got a World Cup semi-final.
Yeah. He did well at the sevens, though.
Yeah, he did. He's got the Olympic one. I think Chesney's got a bronze from the Olympics. But I think he'll take 2 golds from the World Cup. Rugby Championship, gold medal. British and Irish Lions, gold medal in terms of the series. Wow, this team has done some amazing things. I just wish they could play Ireland at the end of the year and go on a Grand Slam tour.
Maybe make it a midweek game.
Australia's got their Grand Slam tour. Come on, man, we'll take Ireland, you take the week off.
The Wallabies will happily offload that one, mate.
Joe Smith will say,
yes, please.
And thanks, Rassi, for helping us out. Will you just play in the green and the bit of the gold? But if you look at, and I was just ragging you early on, by the way, for those who don't understand our sense of humour, Zels was euphoric when I walked in, and he was happy. And he did say to me, the interesting stat that when we were 15 on 15, the score was only 17-7. And I said the reason we went to 15 on 13 because they were infringing so much. It would have been 47 if they weren't infringing. So there should have been a penalty try on that accidental knockdown. Yeah. Peter Stephan, I think it was Cheslin, were unmarked on the outside. Mm-hmm. I think that was about Ben O'Keefe's only kind of indecisive moment was when he initially thought it was going for the intercept. No one goes for that intercept. It's either you got to rule it as a yellow card and cynical, or you've just not got to rule it at all. It's just a knock. But when you flap it with one hand towards the touchline, you're not going for the intercept.
I'm always in favour of the refs staying out of the game, but I will say I am surprised in 2024 that the Boks rolled over Argentina's scrum for 80 minutes and didn't get a penalty try at any point in that match because they were just destroying them.
Well, even that first one, when they basically marched them 10 metres into the goal line, they infringed, dotted the ball down. He said penalty. It should have been a penalty try.
Correct.
And it should have been a yellow card after that third scrum. It took 5 penalty scrums in the first 6 minutes of that game.
But I'm not knocking Ben O'Keefe for that because I like that he keeps the cards in the pocket and the penalties.
But if that was 5 minutes to go, it's a penalty try or it's straight off in the last 5 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
So let's have some consistency there.
Correct.
All round though, as you say, Ben O'Keefe. He's a lacquer oak.
Yeah.
He was always very kind to us. He was kind to us in that second test against the Irish Lions when the world's media scrutiny was on him. I remember writing a piece that had 45,000 Facebook shares about how we'll be watching you, Ben.
Wow, no pressure.
And I think that first off took 64 minutes. You went upstairs for
everything, mate.
And let's us not forget, it was Ben O'Keefe that was in charge of that quarterfinal when we beat host France. In the World Cup, 29-28. Ben O'Keefe, best referee in the world.
How dare you?
I love that Kiwi, man.
You see Yaku Paper in the coaching box. After that scrum we just spoke about, he was saying to Rusty, there should be cards.
Yaku Paper, eh? It's great to have him in the mix.
Oh,
And, I think the Boks have
What a
certainly
beast.
benefited from having
Big time.
that kind of expertise.
Big time.
When we look at this Bok performance, and it's talking about peaking at the right time. I mean, we play 12 months basically of the year. There's no real off-season for our guys. Now, they've got to peak, and then there's got to be some kind of rebuild, and there's going to be a time where their season plateaus.
Sure.
Now, we spoke about a guy that seemed to be off the pace for large parts of the Rugby Championship, Bongi Mbanami, and here he comes, and he's brutal, and he's brilliant, and that was the Bongi of 2023. He had that strut again, leader of the pack, and he had his mate Ox on the left, and France on the right. I mean, that front row to start with, Eben just emotionally charged up. And then to me, the unsung hero of that pack at the moment has been Ruan Nortje. And he's reminding me a lot of Sos, Franco Mostert, is when he's got an engine on him, he just does the work. And to me, he has been, we spoke about Sasha being the breakthrough player.
Yes.
Among the backs. But in the forwards, the guy that has exceeded all expectation for me is Ruan Nortje.
Yeah, look, I mean, he is not among the top whatever locks in the country. It took a bunch of injuries to get him in there, and he's been given this opportunity, and he has run with it. And he's been superb. The Bok lineout has had some speed bumps, but has settled down. I mean, again, I keep harping on about that scrum, but when you're running downhill, everybody is going to look fantastic because their whole pack is basically still locked in the scrum when our wingers score in the corner. So it really was a great festival for Springbok rugby, and we made the most of it. I am looking forward to when the rest of world rugby starts to catch up a little bit, and we get back to actually having to do a bit more graft.
Why?
Because it just makes it a better.
Jeez,
it just
why?
makes it a better contest. It makes it a. I don't know. There was a stage when the All Blacks were in charge where it became boring to watch them play because the rest of the world was just nowhere near the same level. So I'm quite keen to see us challenged again and see how we respond to that.
Can I just remind you about 2016, 2017, and 2018?
Exactly.
We won 48% of our tests.
Exactly.
In 2017, we won 33%.
Yes.
We were losing 57-0 to the All Blacks, 57-15. I want us to be as dominant as we can be for as long as we can be.
I want the results to be there, no, 100%.
I don't get bored when we win 48-7.
No.
I get very irritated when we lose 29-28 when we shouldn't lose at all.
Exactly.
But if you want someone to be competitive, look, England's going to be competitive. France is going to be competitive. Ireland's the number one team in the world. I watched the breakdown, and that's what they kept on talking about, is the number one team in the world is going to be a big clash. Ireland, I think they just mentioned the Springboks once to say we were number 2 in the world.
Shockers.
51 minutes, eh?
Shockers.
It hurts these guys, eh?
But that's good. I mean, listen, we've been there. We've been in that kind of environment for a long time with South African rugby, so we know what that's like. We just got used to it more because it lasted longer.
It hurts those Kiwis at the moment, eh?
This is their first taste of blood.
It hurts them that the Boks are so good, eh?
Big time.
It really hurts them.
Where does Kerwin go with this now? Because
he's been absent for a month. We haven't seen him. He's been on holiday. But Ireland, number one team in the world. You know what?
Asterisk.
You can have it. What we've got is 2 World Cups back to back. We've got a British and Irish Lions series win. We've got a Rugby Championship played over the 4-1. That all in a 5-year period. And you keep your Six Nations. You keep your 1-all series. And we'll see you.
Why are we even talking about
in a World Cup quarterfinal? No, I mean, the world rankings, that's a farce in any case.
It is a bit convoluted.
Yeah. The Boks know that there's very little to choose between them and Ireland on the day, but they will they will get there, and that's why I keep on saying I wish we were going to Dublin again and playing them in this Test match and doing the Grand Slam tour, because this team, just to complete everything before the next World Cup, to do a Grand Slam tour as well and win that, and with the depth we had, they can do it in a fortnight.
We can play a different team in each of those matches.
Yeah, we play 2 teams here, and then next week we play the other 2.
Do it in a fortnight.
And then we go do France on the way home.
I love it.
And then Italy, we can do the 6 Nations in a month.
Let's just do the world tour, right?
We can do the 6 Nations in a month.
Glorious.
We play Wednesday, Saturday. Wednesday, Saturday. That would be amazing, eh?
That would be
That would be the challenge for this
That
team.
would be amazing.
You know,
We
you
do have
talk
the depth.
You talk about a challenge.
That would be a challenge.
But look, I was thrilled with this Bok performance because we kept on saying throughout that opening 30 against Australia in Brisbane, wow, and they went up 33-0, whatever. We knew Australia were poor, but it was a good performance given the history in Brisbane. And then outside of that, it's been like, you've won, but I thought you were going to dismantle New Zealand, you didn't. Thought you were going to put them away in Cape Town, you didn't.
Spot on.
And so we were looking for this performance
That's a great
that
shout.
they had to put a team away.
Yeah.
And they put away Argentina's most successful ever Rugby Championship team. In form, on a high in terms of confidence, playing some great rugby. And they put them away as a world champion should. Emphatically showcasing all our best qualities. So when we look at the Irish series and we look at the 2 wins against New Zealand, 2 against Australia, and your critique of the Tony ball and it's coast to coast and we're still not doing the fundamentals, we're not playing directly enough.
Yeah.
We played as direct as we can and as well as we can.
Yes.
However, on the basis of that going downhill, running downhill, our backs could just run right. And you saw all the Tony Brown kind of rugby, the best coming to play there. And that's what I loved. And that to me was a coming together of Tony ball, but Tony ball can only come together if our pack plays to their potential and plays to their maximum.
They were incredible. What did you make of Jaden Hendrickson behind that pack and then Fussy manning the deep space there? What were your thoughts around their performances?
Well, I thought Jaden Hendrickson, I like his composure.
Me too, man. His demeanour.
And he never looks flustered on the field. He looks like he's in charge. I think he takes a lot of decision-making pressure off someone like Marnie because he can clear well from the base. He's not a flash player. He's not looking to make the magic moment his. I was very impressed with him in terms of the calm he seems to bring to that pack.
I like that
And
too.
what I loved about Fussy is he's running with pace. He's running from depth. He's playing with a smile on his face. He doesn't look burdened. He looks like he's on fire. And he's got coaches who are backing him. And he's improved many, many areas of his game. And he looks like that athlete who came on the scene, but with the right attitude now. And I think he's put in a hell of a lot of work behind the scenes. And again, grown up a bit in the last 12 months. But I thought it was fantastic that they backed him. I mean, the mongrel, when he scored that first try, and his attitude throughout the game, I love that. Cheslin also, you know, he's so tough, and he's like, his heart is so big, and I mean his size, he could be 6'8" the way he plays. Also, they're calm, nothing frantic. The one guy that did look slightly off the pace, and it's since he got concussed, has been Kurtley Orense. He just looks like he was struggling to get into the game, maybe trying a little bit too hard. We know how good he is when the ball also goes his side. And when I say he looked off the pace, doesn't mean he was bad. But that zip, not quite there.
I think he set a standard of, scoring 12 tries a game. So when he scores less than that, you're like, where is he? But I mean, he came close to scoring one, millimeters might argue. And the game just didn't seem to flow to him. He was kind of looking for work from a quiet spot of the field, it seemed like, because Cheslin was getting fed.
Jeez, how busy was Cheslin that first 20 minutes?
No, insane. I think he got like a season's worth of touches in one match. That was incredible.
But also, this belief then, and again, I go back to very good Springbok teams since, let's go back and we talk professional era. Nick Mallett's, Carl Dupsey coached them at 61-22. Nick Mallett took them on a 16-test unbeaten run, 52-10 in Paris, 68-10 in Murrayfield. They played some incredible rugby. Ball in hand, backs.
Beautiful.
We've always had that.
Always.
The world perception has been that we don't have it.
Correct.
Because when we have to revert to type, we can. If I look at last year when we beat Australia 41-13 at Loftus, Manuel Bok was outstanding.
100%.
And we sent another team over to New Zealand at that time. So it was kind of a mix and match team. That was pre-Tony Brown's arrival. So I have no doubt Tony Brown has added a lot of elements. But we've always had the backs. We've always been able to play.
No, totally.
Totally. But it comes down to, it doesn't matter who's in your back line 9 to 15. If your pack's getting done,
100%.
It's not going to happen for you.
And I think you definitely have to give credit to Tony in the sense that you can see the comfortableness the sort of comfort levels on the ball and in distribution, there's definitely a slickness there now that is of a very high level. Like the guys are, not only are they passing, but they're expecting to pass and they're expecting to receive at pace running onto the ball. You can see that this is not something that is just because the Boks got momentum. It's something they've been working on. So there's definitely an improvement there. I think also the perception around the way the Boks have traditionally played is, as you always say, South Africa's a great tournament team. So we're generally the bad guy at tournaments because when we go on end-of-year tours and mid-season, we're up and down. But when it comes to big tournaments like the World Cup, that's when the Boks have been at their most successful, and that's when they play percentage tactics all the way. And so they become the villains to the Northern Hemisphere in that environment. And I think that's where the stigma has come of, these guys don't, they play 10-man rugby. But I mean, like you say, if you look at those things, JP Peterson, Brian Abana scored some of the most electric tries. And that 36-0 against England is arguably the best performance in Springbok history in the modern era. So, South Africa can play ball.
And we've always had good backs.
Always.
I think what was comforting to see on Saturday was the backs looked as comfortable on the ball as our forwards look in the collision. And that to me was brilliant.
That's a great line, I like that.
Because we naturally seek confrontation.
Totally.
We seek collisions. Our backs wanted that ball.
Yeah.
The world would say at times like the Boks are a more dangerous side without the ball, and they're a danger to themselves with the ball. And that's the evolution of how they want to play, to me, was showcased for the first time this Saturday. Asterix, it was only showcased because of what happened up front.
100%.
And where our frustration is coming is that they've been trying to play this way up until now and not had that dominance.
Yeah.
That complete dominance
that
of
is
a
the
game.
sequence, right? Do it up front, do the business up front, and then send the backs away.
Oxen Chair, is he the best loosehead in world rugby at the moment?
Who's better than him? He got that tight head airborne last week and then just pulverized him again this week again. Just that guy's, you can't get under him, and he's power.
Ox reminds me of the late Tommy Loebscher, but he was on the tight head side. But at a press conference when he scrummed against Pierre Ribbons, I think it was, Province against the Bulls. And Tommy had him up at like a helicopter. And when they asked Tommy in the press conference, old dog against the young dog, how was it? He said the challenge wasn't to scrum him, it was just to keep him in the air for a bit. So I think that's what Ox must think. It's not to scrum these guys. It's how long do I keep him in the air before I grind him, okay?
Phenomenal.
And then Bong is a power scrummer, and just the tractor, it took him a while this season.
Francie back
the
to his
tractor
best.
is running, eh?
Yeah.
At full tilt.
Yeah.
Eh?
Yeah, no,
and he
France
says he
will
wants to get 100 tests. He's on 76. That means he wants to go to the World Cup.
Why shouldn't he?
Why shouldn't he? Jeez, no, he
Playing
was
like this, wow.
No, he was outstanding. And then your old mate, Jasper Visser.
He was anonymous aside from that kickoff return. I don't know what happened there. I've never seen that before. He stepped two guys and then just dragged the guy for 25 meters to the 40. That was insane.
What I like about Jasper also is that there seems to be a greater calmness about how he's playing now. It's not like he needs to show that he's bigger and better than a Dwayne Vermeulen. He's really settled into that age role. And when he's unassuming, he's actually at his most dangerous as well.
I think Rassie maybe did that on purpose. Our rucks are so lightning fast that Jasper doesn't have time to get a red card or do anything crazy. The ball's gone.
But he's a great attitude, great physicality, and he troubles the opposition. And then Peter Steph du Toit, another MVP performance. Look, as I say, I thought he was incredible again. But for me, it's like an Oxen Chair or France or Damien Dialandi. When are we going to give those guys a little bit of credit? But the tank
he doesn't
on
stop.
that guy
Doesn't stop.
And I saw Hanneke Meyer saying he's phenomenal, best player in the world. Other coaches coming out and just saying just greatest player. And I remember Jake White, when he was coaching the Sharks, Jake said that there's a guy, Peter Steph du Toit, that'll become the greatest player in the world. And at the time he'd been injured a bit. He was playing lock. And it was like, everyone talks this guy up and he hasn't really done it for the Boks yet. And he hasn't done it consistently. And Jake's coached so many of the good ones. And Jake loves Skalkberger. He loves Francis Steyn. They're two of his favourite players.
When he says it, you listen.
And so when he said this guy, Peter Steph du Toit, will become, if he can stay injury-free, he will become the greatest rugby player, or definitely the greatest forward in the game. And just how he's managed to take his form from that World Cup and sustain it. And I think what we've seen here is we underestimated what damage COVID did to us by not playing in 2020. Because this season we've blooded close to 15 players as new Boks. We've lost 2 tests, both of them by 1 point, and both of them, we lost one in the final minute with a successful drop goal against Ireland, and we could have won the other one, but for a missed penalty. We could have been 100% going into the end of your tour. And that's the consistency that Rassie spoke about post-2019. And then COVID struck. And we had a British and Irish Lions series. They'd gone through a Six Nations. They'd gone through a Nations Cup. That, to me, still remains one of the greatest achievements that Boks squad, with basically 40 minutes against Georgia, and half of them coming down, having had COVID, to play the British and Irish Lions as SAA, to come out and win that series and win it the way they did it, is just still the most remarkable series win ever, given the quality of those British and Irish Lions.
Epitomised mental toughness. I mean, you played in a prison, basically, and beat the best players from the Northern Hemisphere under the most trying conditions. What is usually a massive boon in the sense that you have home crowd support and hype, and it was all canned. So just phenomenal the way they recovered from that first test, and then obviously Morné Steyn.
Now, I was having a beer or two with my mate, Monty. We always mention Monty, first Boks test Centurion, 102 tests, record point scorer. A machine. He's got his Al Centurion brand. There's 2 bottles here. We'll announce the winner later in the week. If you made some dosh off our eBets affiliate program, I know my son Ollie did. He went with our call of total points, and I think he made $700 on $500 on $700, or $700 on 500 that he put down.
Okay.
So there is going to be a draw if you're in it. There's 2 signed bottles. It's the 13-month-old vintage, as he tells me. I don't drink the stuff. I'm more Jägermeister man. But wonderful gifts, and we'll kind of announce that later on in the week. Also, to our mates at Float, Matteo, thanks for the green and gold, man.
Beautiful.
Connor, who heads up their marketing, he came to the house and delivered it in person. And you'll probably see some visuals of that as well, as Connor's giving it to me and sinking a few beers as well. So thanks, guys. If you've got any product, because we like to support local businesses.
Yes, I like this. I like where this is going.
If you've got any product that you want us to display, send it to us, okay? Preferably the bolt on it. And we will give you guys a shout out and kind of always know that it must be laced with green and gold. Okay? Yeah. And it must be Bok Hawk. Okay. This is a family program, so no beeps there. But Bok, B-E-F-O-K.
Okay.
Bef okay. So you know what that means. So it was a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Pleasurable to sit back and just watch these Boks perform as they did. Chatting about Monty, said you played in the 2007 World Cup final. You kicked 4 from 4. You had torn knee ligaments on 36 minutes. You basically played that second half with torn knee ligaments. He kicked 2 penalties in that period as well with his knee strapped up. One of the heroic World Cup final performances. You know, we had Andre Joubert who played in 95 with a broken hand, and his hand was in a cast. Willie Leroux played with an injury in 2019. So something about that 15 jersey as well. And he raves about this team, okay, Monty. It's just one of the great teams, greatest. So I'm like, okay, how great was your team?
Yeah.
He says, no, they were great. I said, that 2009 team. Now he was the kicking coach. He had retired 2008, went 2009. So I said, okay, 15-1, let's go.
Yeah.
I don't know. The only one he was unanimous on was number 5, Victor Matfield, and number 9, Farid April. For the rest, he's like,
it could go either way.
Bakkies or Eben. He's like, Bakkies not going to like me for this, but Eben. I said, Jacques and Jean or Dukes and Jessica.
They can't make the call.
He says it's going to be one hell of a game.
Exactly.
And I think that's how blessed we are. But I've always felt that 2009 team, given the quality of who they played and all that, the greatest team I've seen. But hell, what this team is achieving, they are the greatest Springbok team.
But you know what the difference is? The difference is that I might argue that 2009 team man for man was better. But what's different is this squad is untouchable. These guys can put out 2 or 3 teams that can beat the best teams in world rugby right now. And that's the difference, is what was behind those guys in 2009 wasn't the same quality as what you've got now. And that's because Russie's invested in them.
No, completely. So, and the game has evolved to 23 players.
Sure.
It's not a 15 game. I mean, when I was watching the breakdown, as I tend to do on a Sunday evening, one of the questions asked was D-Mac and Bowden Barrett. And it was like, yeah, but everyone wants to start. And Mill said, but why? It's a 23-player game now. So if your skill set is best suited to come off the bench and win it for them, your contribution is as big as the guy as it's starting. We need to move away from that mindset of, because you start, you're considered the best 10. But I come in and I break the game open the last 15 minutes, score 2 tries.
Totally.
So am I now not the best 10?
Totally.
So it's how do you fit it all into 23? And that's what Rassie has perfected. He started with the bomb squad. It's like, how do you beat New Zealand? Played 2 packs against them. 7-1 split. Never been done before. And he went and found the cattle to do that.
Glorious.
Now he's looking at going back to a more traditional 5-3. How do we integrate certain other players into those backs and the utility backs? So when I look at that 23 that played, when I look at what played in Santiago, the way we split the squads in Australia, even made changes for the New Zealand test, absolutely, Zels, I agree with you. And I think the only team in 23 that could compare to that was McCaw's All Blacks, 2011, 2015, but they didn't even have beyond 30.
Yeah, spot on.
And he's building a squad closer to 40, 45 players at the moment. And yeah, I mean, just absolute awed by what they've achieved, how they've achieved it, how popular they remain, what great ambassadors they are to the game and to South Africans. And just thank you to Sia, to Rassie. I think, what was my intro? Like, your Easter, Eben, your biscuit, Rassie,
Yo.
and our captain to Sia. The one thing I do want to say, though, is if you look at Santiago and then you look on Saturday, there is no such thing in the squad as a Bok B team, but there is an A team.
Oh, definitely, mate.
And that, you know, when people ask me, like, how did the Invincible Springboks lose in Santiago? I said, because it wasn't the Invincible Springboks that were there. It was a mix and match.
Correct.
The Invincibles were on display on Saturday, and we saw that. And then you think of what can still come back into
What
that.
is still coming back, mate?
Wow.
Exactly.
Think of a Damian Willemse. So great to see him play again over the weekend.
Brilliant.
Think of what Faf de Klerk can still add to the mix. Franco Mostert. And several others.
Sasha Feinberg and
Sasha. And how quickly do people forget? It's all the money train this last weekend. No one's mentioned Sasha's name.
Also a guy called Steven Kitshoff who was pretty good.
Yeah, so we're just in such a healthy position. It's going to seem like an eternity that we don't have Test rugby for a month before we go on in November. It's going to be very different up there in November. It's going to be a hell of a tough. Wales being the exception. I think Scotland are difficult to beat, and England always at Twickenham are going to be tough. But wow, they go there with confidence. We're interested to see who he bloods, who he takes on that tour as well. The Kiwis, well, they've got it tough. They start off with Japan, then they go England, and then I think they go Ireland within 6 days. France, and then they end with Italy. But again, listening to their show, and I talk about New Zealand a lot because they are the closest to us in terms of challenge.
Right.
And I think we play them twice next year in New Zealand, which will also be another litmus test for the side.
So South Africa, New Zealand, and then who's third?
I think it's France.
France. Yeah, definitely.
It's Ireland fifth now. The minute they start playing, they may drop down, okay? But what will be incredible is if this Boks squad can go to Eden Park next year and beat the All Blacks and take that record.
The final frontier.
The final frontier. They are 50. They haven't lost in 50 Test matches, and it would take an incredible team to go there. What bigger, better occasion and team than Sia Khaleesi and Rassie Erasmus
at Eden Park?
That would be sensational. That's something to look forward to in 2025 as we continue to build. Looking at the All Blacks 33-13, we kind of got that one also. We're pretty much in the money in terms of how we said that game would go.
Yeah.
But again, they relied on a card. They relied on a few other things.
I thought in that game, the All Blacks were definitely the better team and they didn't play too badly. But the Wallabies, I mean, just everyone tries their hardest there. They're playing like a high school defence that just kind of put the All Blacks in the spotlight. I mean, some structural things have to change in Australia in the way that they're playing. As much as they have to get better performances out of the players that they pick, also the way they're playing just needs a bit of a look at, I think.
But if you look at that one again, having a proper 12, Leonard Brown, they looked a bit stronger there.
Definitely.
More direct.
Definitely.
Very calm, Bowden Barrett on the ball. Didn't try to do anything fancy. D-Mac came on and he looked good in the last 20. Caleb Clark's looking good. Sever Reese, I'd still pick Talay ahead of him, but I know he likes Sever Reese. And then fullback Will Jordan, he's a special player.
No, mate, Will Jordan, and that's the thing with Razzie, is he's taken too long to find out the answers. Wallace Atiti was the man amongst boys there. He was a different class. They've almost found him by mistake. Remember when the Boks were at their low? It was that same situation. You'd find a great player by accident because 3 other guys were injured. Just like, but the public's been telling you to pick this guy for 6 weeks. Razor's taken a long time to come round to things that are pretty obvious to everybody else. Will Jordan, for my money, is the best fullback in the world. I think he's a phenomenal player. Every time he touches the ball, something happens, and he's a finisher par excellence. So, Will Jordan, amazing. Wallace Atiti, great. And I think the All Blacks need to warm up to that idea and start picking the team around those guys more than kind of picking a team and then finding a space for them if there's one open.
Look, and he is... Don't be surprised if Richie Mwanga is back in New Zealand by next year's test season, because that's the one that Razor's targeted. I saw the interview that they did with him. They asked him about the overseas-based players. He said, keep an open mind. He says he knows what the protocols are. It doesn't help that he discusses it, but keep an open mind, and maybe it should be player-specific. So he's also saying, I'll rather take 4 names and say, I want to pick these guys. It's going to make us better. It's going to potentially make us world champions. They've got to go there at some stage.
They have to. I mean, All Black Rugby is a trickle down, right? So the All Blacks are the world's most successful team, and then there's a trickle down effect to the rest of New Zealand rugby. So when that is jeopardized, you've got to solve that as your number one priority. Fix the rest of the stuff that comes as a consequence of that, maybe a bit later.
Any improvements on the All Blacks during the Rugby Championship?
Like we spoke about, I think they've sort of by default or by attrition, they've come to some answers there. I mean, getting Caleb closer to the game and using him to go forward and finish more often, I think has definitely solved some problems for them. We've said how they've got front row stocks there, and I think they are getting depth in that position too, with Tamaiti Williams coming through, De Groot's obviously there and functioning well. So
it's a good kid there, Williams.
Very good player.
Sure.
And when they get the Tongan Takiaho back to play hooker, they're going to have something.
Yeah. And then they just need a little bit more backup. If Ritali comes back, he's still got 2 seasons in him, then their lock stocks look okay.
Yeah.
And Shannon Frizzell, they've got 1 or 2 players there that they just need to pick.
Yeah.
So
they've got to solve that question, life after sugarcane now. Now they've got to find who's that guy that's going to step into that role, because you've got Artie Surveyor, you've got Wallace Atiti. They need another banger in there.
Yeah, and I mean, the talk is they'll take Kane on the end of the year tour just for experience, maybe play him off the bench, do various other things. But look, I think once they figure out what they want to do, they're going to be a hell of a tough next year. And again, the great challenge for us is we go there for 2 tests.
Jeez.
And that's a frontier.
Beautiful.
If we can win a series there,
let's go.
It'll be brilliant. Counting on those days already.
Yeah.
All round, Australia, they're in trouble. They won 1 from 6, minus 100 plus points. And the one they won, they got gifted it in the 80th minute against the Pumas. They should never have lost that first test in that rain. So a lot of hard work for Joe Smith, and he's got a Grand Slam tour. I can't see him winning any of those games.
No. I mean, the Wallabies need to find some answers. I don't even know where to tell them to look. So I don't really know. I can't see them winning anything on end of year.
We'll preview those tours obviously closer to the time, but I don't see them winning any of the 4 on the Grand Slam, and I don't see New Zealand beating England, Ireland, or France. I think they could lose all 3. They'll beat Japan on the way and finish with Italy. And that would be kind of consistent with Mills said that he thought they'd drop 5 games this season, and that would mean they've dropped 6, which will be one of the worst seasons in All Black professional history. However, let's go back to 2018 with Rassie Erasmus, played 14-1-7. And people forget that. We started with a loss against Wales in Washington, D.C. with our kind of B team, and then we took our A team over to Cardiff and lost 27-13. And the core of that side that lost 27-13 went on to win the World Cup in 2019, have been primary to the dominance here. So I'm not being dismissive in writing off the All Blacks at all. They'll be back.
They'll be back.
And they'll be back stronger than ever. The key is that we continue to get stronger.
Exactly.
So a great Saturday for South African rugby. And it started nicely as well, because it started at 1 o'clock with one of our favorite teams, the Lions, in the URC. Excellent result against Ulster. Again, they play such lacquer rugger. Why don't people go and watch them? You couldn't find anyone in that stand.
I don't think people are allowed in there. They've like cordoned off all the stands. You can't go in.
And that's my bugbear in terms of a competition like the URC. And to me, it is the best provincial/international competition out there. Better than the Premiership, better than Super Rugby Pacific, and better than the top 14 because of the quality across the board in the 16 teams. But for teams like the Lions and even the Bulls, to play in smaller stadia, to play where you're going to get 10,000 and pack them in and create that atmosphere, to go to a 62,000 seater every week and you've got 4,000 people there.
Yeah.
It's kind of soulless. And the brand of rugger that they play. I mean, geez, I really enjoy watching them. Cash van Rooyen, off to a great start. 1 week in, and the Lions are our leading team on the log.
Right.
Take that screenshot now.
Yeah, bank it.
Bank it.
Yeah.
But nice the way they won. Nice to see the youngsters coming through again. Thought Willem Venter had a big game. Henke van Wyk, nice to see him back on the field.
You said big game, and Klabakanye is big game.
Yeah.
Wow.
That Ak was so involved in the first minute.
Love that guy.
He did an even first minute. He carried, he offloaded and all that.
Yeah.
But I have seen how he maneuvers on the field.
He takes the shortest route.
He kind of positions himself from where he scrummed. That's where the next lineout's going to be, and he's going to be
making his way over.
But what a character and an excellent win. And then the Bulls, Kane Moody, MVP, just ran with purpose. Kind of game he needed to get back. I mean, we talk about the Boks stocks again. Wow, when a player like that's not really making the 30,
I mean, wow.
Then you know we got some quality. And who's the other winner? Sebastian de Klerk.
Sebastian de Klerk had a great game.
Wow, and how did he stand up to Duan van der Merwe? I mean, when he reeled him in, made the tackle and nearly took the turnover. And Duan van der Merwe is one of the best in the world.
I think even Akker van der Merwe was just shaking his head.
Yeah. I was just waiting for that. I was waiting for that backyard run. Akker against his putter. And I know who's going to win that one. It's going to be Akker.
It's going to be Akker.
It's going to be Akker.
100%.
memory, muscle memory. It's like he knows what he did to him when they were kids.
But Sebastian de Klerk, I mean, he must have racked up 1,000 sprint meters in that game. He was just scrambling, reeling Oaks in, on attack. He was everywhere. I thought he had a really, really good game.
And then we saw the impact and the effect of Wilco Louw. Didn't play. And scrum looked a lot different.
Huge difference.
A lot different. At one stage, I thought, and Edinburgh's a good side. They travel well. They're a difficult side to beat. I think why people underestimate things, they never really put teams away. But they're a hard side to beat in Edinburgh, and they go well on the road. And at one stage, I thought, this game is going to potentially go another way.
Bit of a squeaker.
Because the Bulls have struggled in the last 20 against international opposition at altitude. They seem to be the ones kind of falling off. But glad they got the win. Home wins are everything in this competition.
Big time.
And we saw that with the Sharks traveling to Connacht and the Stormers against the Ospreys. Again, you've got to play well to win overseas, but you've got to have the bounce of the ball and you've got to take the referee out of the mix. And the Stormers, by one example, didn't lose because of the refereeing, but they weren't helped because of the refereeing. 30-24 down, pushing for that try in the 77th minute. Tackle on the line. Osprey's guy takes out the support attacker, which is illegal. It's a penalty to the Stormers. The penalty goes the other way. We got a clip of that, or we got a picture of that Imad will put up for you. Decisive. They score there. They kick the conversion. 31-30. It's a great win in Ospreys. They go down the other side of the field, dejected, concede a penalty try, and it's 37-24. So again there, the battle lost, but the war not lost at all. And I think people need to keep that in perspective. When we look at the Sharks, incredible, 27-7, then found themselves 36-27 down, got the bonus point, 36-30. Week for week, we're going to have to just accept this is a tournament that you can only look at the week that they're playing.
Yes.
Because there are so many games. And whereas 12 victories out of 18 got you a last 8, I wouldn't be surprised if 10 victories out of 18 this season is going to be enough to get you into that top 8, given how close the teams are to each other and the quality of teams.
And also, this has been the Six Nations segment of the tournament for South Africa's teams. You know, in March next year, when the Six Nations is live and those URC teams are missing guys to training and, you know, guys, their heads are in different spaces, you'll see the South African teams catch up. So we're having to play without some of our best players and make a start to the season on the road. And I think you could definitely see the effects of that in the Sharks and the Stormers. All 4 South African teams leading at halftime, 2 wins at home. The Boks. It was a good weekend for South Africa.
It was a good weekend. And then, again, we talk about there aren't any gimmies. The Stormers are in Palmer to play Zebra this weekend.
Oof.
Zebra
beat Munster
40-33 against Munster. One of the best teams in the league. Champions 2 seasons ago. 6 tries to 5. And I think this is the education that the South African public needs all the time. We are playing in a tough league. Different kind of conditions. The travel factor is also still there.
Yeah.
We go on tour for close to a month. The workload is there. At the moment, they're still traveling via Doha and Dubai and all that kind of stuff. So it's not an excuse mentality.
It's just a reality.
It's the realism of, geez, you box a win there, you get a win there, you've done well.
Against all odds.
If you can get 1 from 3 on 2, if you can get 2 from 4, happy days. Anything more than that, it's spectacular.
Yeah.
And the same would be applicable for their teams that come here. If they can just get 1 from 2, that's what they aim for. And they don't come for more than 2.
Correct. And they don't have to go the long route either.
No, exactly. It's straight down here. So I thought, all things considered, biggest positive for me was seeing Damien Willemse back on the field, seeing Ronel back on the field, was seeing my friend Needlam for sheer. I dig that oak. Yeah. Playing a good hit out for the 2 hookers at the Stormers. Schukeling back 60 minutes.
Schukeling looked good, eh?
And I looked at the Sharks. Jordan Hendricks as well. That kick giving him so much confidence from Ellis Park, and then he banned one over that
from the touchline.
Yeah, he just banned another big one over.
Oh, the 63 meter. Yeah.
And some guy had an argument with me, no more than 53. How's your math? Not particularly good. But it's going down at 63 in my book, mate.
Stufil.
Yeah, and it's just, they look good in that first 40, 45. I don't know if they were just a bit knackered, you know. It's also, they've come out of a Currie Cup final. They've come out of like a playoff thing. So also just don't go too hard on them just yet. They managed to get away there with, 2 points? Was it a losing bonus point?
Losing bonus point. Yeah.
Losing bonus points. So they'll get better. And I tell you, our teams are going to be so hard to beat in South Africa. But the URC, it's up and running. I dig that league. And the quality of player that's coming through. There's so much youth coming through in our game.
No, absolutely. I mean, the talent... you know, the junior Boks didn't have a great season, but you look at a guy like Lorenzo Julius who's making his steps into the URC now. Very encouraging. We spoke about the depth at the Boks. The depth just runs through. And that's the trickle-down effect of South African rugby being 2-time world champions. It just, the participation's there, the motivation's there, the incentives there, the drive is there, and you're seeing it through in these youngsters coming through now. So, fabulous.
And then, if you want to know what's going on in France, if you want to know what's going on in England with our Saffers, SA Rugby Magazine, go to it. They always have a wrap. It's one of my favorite pieces, and you know who's who in the zoo there, and there's lots of South Africans always doing well. One guy I always follow closely, La Rochelle, he's Dylan Lates, and he's always delivering something. Yeah. So they do the wrap for you, kind of point you in the right direction. Zels, it's been a pleasure. Thanks to Monty, Al Centurion. Thanks to the Float guys. Thanks to Imad, Aister, everyone. Thanks to everyone who's been with us for this Rugby Championship.
Yes.
It's been as exciting as the World Cup. We're going to continue with the URC by popular demand. And we'll be back later in the week to talk about the South Africans, the 4 teams that are playing, and how we start slowly edging our way up that table, because we've seen it before. We go on tour. It looks horrific in October. By November, end of November, it's looking great. By March, it's like we're going to win this thing and host finals.
Correct.
So wonderful, wonderful time to be a South African rugby supporter. Keep that positivity going. Keep the comments going. Visit our WhatsApp channel. And just keep loving this period that we are in of Bok dominance. And it's not arrogance, guys. It's happiness.